Morning, everyone. Eric Cantor has been a true friend, and I want to thank him and thank his staff for their service to our conference, and thank them for their service to our country as well. There's no one around here who works harder or puts more thought into advancing our principles and the solutions that we want to enact for the American people. I look forward to him continuing to lead our floor efforts here over the summer. As for the future, let me share a little bit with you what I told the members yesterday. This is a time for unity. This is a time to focus on what we all know is true, that the President's policies have failed the American people. His administration can't get our economy back to real growth, and he continues to endanger our troops and citizens with his failed foreign policies. At this point, the administration can't even provide basic services to our veterans. We need to elect a Congress that not only has the will to stop the President, but the power to do so as well. Every day, we're showing the American people that we've got better solutions. Today, we'll act on 2 more jobs bills that will help small businesses invest and grow. Fortunately, Senate Democrats continue to sit on their hands and failing to act on the dozens of jobs bills that are sitting over in the Senate. But guess what? So long as the American people continue to ask the question, where are the jobs, we're going to continue to be focused on this one issue. I said on Tuesday that the transfer of 5 hardened terrorists has made Americans less safe. And I mean that, and I'll stand by it. When asked last week whether the freed terrorists could return to plotting attacks on Americans, President Obama recently said, absolutely. Well, I don't think that's but half of it. This exchange has encouraged our enemies and increased the risk to our military and civilian personnel serving around the globe. Those who would argue the opposite, I think, are incredibly naive. One of our citizens' greatest protections was knowing that the United States does not negotiate with terrorists. And that issue now, that principle has been compromised. America is willing to make deals with terrorists. That's the new Obama doctrine. Back in January, I urged the President to get engaged with what's going on in Iraq. And this week we've seen big cities in Iraq overrun with terrorists. And the Obama administration's failure to reach a status of forces agreement continues to have serious consequences for Iraq and American interest in the region. And the administration's failed policies in Syria, Libya, and Egypt, and its failure to implement a broader strategy for the Middle East is having a direct impact on the situation in Iraq. The United States has and will continue to have vital national interest in Iraq. But the progress made there is clearly in jeopardy. The President has celebrated our exit from Iraq as a hallmark of his foreign policy agenda. But our focus should be instead on completing our mission successfully. And I would urge the President once again to get engaged before it's too late.
The volatility that we saw in the electorate played out in the Cantor primary, what has happened in the electorate in the past few cycles where you have these surprises that come out of nowhere? Your side benefited greatly from the Tea Party in 2010, part of that volatility, but what do you attribute this, where it seems like, if the wind blows the right way?
I'll let the political pundits describe and figure out what happened in that election. Every election is different. And I went through a primary process myself. And you have to understand, the American people are being squeezed by Obama's policies. The economy's not growing. Incomes aren't growing. We're not creating enough jobs. And 2/3 of America, they see no increase in their wages, but their food prices are going up, their gas prices are going up, and their health insurance costs are going up. And so there's a lot of frustration that's out there, and they look to Washington and wonder why we can't resolve these issues. They're hard to resolve when you got a president who won't engage.
There were things you did in your primary that you have not done in a few years. I mean, obviously, you had a 3-way, at one point a 4-way primary. Were there certain things that you felt you had to do and
I ran my race in a way that I thought I should run my race. But I'm not going to analyze that race down there.
McCarthy to be the House Majority Leader, and also how important is it, do you think, for unity in your conference to have a red state Republican at the leadership table?
Well, I do think that the members are going to make this decision. We're going to do it next week. You know, I'm sure some will argue it was too soon, some will argue it was too long. But it's important that we resolve this issue in a fair amount of time so that we can do the work that we were elected to do. And so the members will make the decision about who the next majority leader is, and they'll.
You, I mean, you talked about how important it was to have Eric Cantor at your side. Do you want Kevin McCarthy at your side?
So I've worked with all 434 other members of Congress before. I can work with whoever gets elected.
Mr. Boehner, issue at hand in Mr. Cantor's race was that of immigration. A lot of people are saying now that immigration reform is dead because your conference will not move out of fear of what happened to Mr. Cantor. Is immigration reform dead this year?
Debunk the first thing. I don't believe the first premise of your question. Secondly, the issue with immigration reform has not changed. The president continues to ignore laws that he signed into law, violating his oath of office. He did it again with the release of these Taliban 5. And I reminded the president again yesterday that every time he does this, it makes it harder to gain the trust of our members to do the big things that need to be done around here.
Immigration is an issue in 2016 then, if it's not going to happen this year?
Listen, the president's going to have to demonstrate that he can be trusted to implement a law the way it was passed.
You said that the people who think that this Bergdahl swap was a good deal are naive. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff signed off on this deal on the metric of national security. Do you think the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is naive and the Secretary of Defense himself a veteran?
They are dead wrong on this issue. Releasing these 5 people, negotiating with terrorists, is a principle that we've not violated. And now we've violated, and we've put Americans at risk as a result of it.
Mr. Speaker, what message do you believe that voters were trying to send Washington in this election in Virginia? Was it a message at all?
No, I'm not. Again, I'm not gonna analyze what happened in this election. They're all different. So I'm sure at some point people are going to handle around what really happened.
But surely you must have a takeaway in terms of dealing with issues like immigration. If Eric Cantor can be branded, that he is supporting amnesty, how can your party ever move forward on an issue like this? Is it time for
We don't know that
type
is.
of brand?
We don't know that is the issue or was the issue in the election.
Issues, though, don't you think?
On Iraq, do you think the U.S. should be launching airstrikes? And if not, what should the U.S. do?
Well, I think what we should do is to provide the equipment and the technical assistance that the Iraqis have been asking for. I don't know enough of the details about the airstrikes to comment whether we should or we shouldn't. But it's not like we haven't seen this problem coming for over a year. And it's not like we haven't seen over the last 5 or 6 months these terrorists moving in, taking control of western Iraq. Now they've taken control of Mosul. They're 100 miles from Baghdad. And what's the president doing? Taking a nap.